Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. And today's episode is Charmed Season 4, Episode 2, Hell Hath No Fury. It's now time for our episode in a nutshell. So the episode begins basically with Piper on a rampage going around and scrying for random evil in the city before going ahead and hunting it without knowing the details of who the demons are, what their powers are, what their strength levels are, anything. And this, of course, leads to Cole and Phoebe becoming a bit concerned, especially Cole because Piper's not only putting her own life at risk, but also Phoebe's. Meanwhile, Paige is at work and she's reading up on witches, now that she is one, and decides that she needs to know more, so she goes to the manor and meets with them there and is introduced to the Book of Shadows. Flipping through the Book of Shadows while Phoebe goes to speak with Cole and Leo, who basically they talk to Leo saying that Piper is out of control. He needs to speak to her because she's putting everybody in danger, including herself, and obviously isn't coping well with Prue's death. Paige decides she's going to throw the book out the window so that she can copy some of the spells from it because as she's flipping through, a lot catches her interest and she doesn't really understand the importance of the book at this point. She then makes her exit, returning to work, where she then starts to cast spells throughout the day. For example, she clears up her friend's skin, she helps another friend with her car loan to go through, and also uses a spell to kind of negotiate a extension on an application that she let slide due to all of the new things happening in her life. It slipped her mind. Then there is a man at her work named Donnie who is a bit of a sleazy scumbag. And as he is very sleazy, she gets annoyed and decides to cast an instant karma spell on him, which then leads to all the women in the office basically giving him a taste of his own medicine and relentlessly pursuing him, while Paige, as a backfire for personal gain, grows in the chest region. While all that was happening, Piper once again cried for evil. She finds the Furies attacking an innocent. They then try to save said innocent, which they manage, but Piper is caught in the face with the smoke which the Furies use to kill their victims. And they then return home to find out who it was that got away from them. Cole informs them that it's the Furies, but this is also when they find out that the book is missing. And at first, Piper's freaking out because she thinks it's a demon. Phoebe then says no, it was Paige. They then decide to go to Paige's workplace to get the book back. And Piper, of course, is very angry at Paige. But when they get there, they see the aftermath of Donnie being chased by the girls, Paige trying to sneak out with her new chest, and this then leads to Piper going with Leo to basically bring Donnie to the manor until they can figure out a way to reverse the spell. And Paige and Phoebe head home, where Phoebe talks about the consequences of personal gain and finds out through the book that the Furies in good people the smoke will kill a bad guy, but in a good witch or a good person, it will look for a portal of unexpressed fury and turn them into a fury, which means that they then have to hurry home. When they get there, Piper's in the throes of transformation and has been throwing Donnie around, throwing Leo around, and even Cole had to hit her with a low voltage energy ball because she's out of control, and then she basically turns around, tells Cole that that wasn't very nice, before poofing away in smoke. This then leads to them having to figure out a plan. Phoebe first annuls the magic that Paige cast with the instant karma spell, which then allows her to go back to her normal size. Then they work on a plan. Because Paige was able to substitute a word in the instant karma spell, she wonders if the to call a lost witch spell would work if they change it to call a lost sister, as they can't call a lost witch since Piper is no longer a witch. They then do so, and this leads to them deciding that the call isn't strong enough, so they need Cole to act as bait, as he was once evil and will be a strong temptation. They cast the spell. Cole then starts panicking with the cries of his former victims. While the Furies attack, they manage to vanquish the other Furies except Piper, and then Piper starts to attack them. Paige figures out that her orbing is a fear response, so she still doesn't have control over it. And at first, Phoebe tries to close the portal of rage by commenting on Piper being angry with her. However, it is then revealed that Piper is actually angry at Prue, and Paige is the one who figures this out. When she does, Leo orbs them both to the cemetery where Prue's plaque is on the wall for her, and then Paige basically says that when her parents died, she hated them because they had left her alone in the world, and that it is okay for Piper to hate Prue, that Prue is the one who abandoned her, and it is okay for her to express her rage and anger and hate Prue. Piper then has a breakdown at the plaque, finally expressing her rage at the person it's actually directed to, and returns to being human. Before we then move on to the next day, where Piper and Phoebe talk in the kitchen about how quiet it is because Prue is always first one up and last one to sleep. And Phoebe tells Piper that Paige did a really good job dealing with the demons, better than most people would, that she's definitely a Halliwell. And Piper expresses her fear of letting anyone new in after losing Prue. Love feels like it's inviting pain. And Phoebe tells her not to start with love, but start with thanks. So Piper then brings muffins to Paige at her workplace, where she and Paige talk about what happened. And it's awkward at first, but they do also bond over the lost sister and lost parents, and Paige claiming that she's going to wear the scratches on her neck with pride as her first war wound, before her boss comes over and asks who Piper is. That's preventing her from doing her actual job, and Piper acknowledges that she is her sister before leaving. So now that we know and remember what happened within the episode, it's time to rank this episode. As always, we'll rank on our two lists, the mostly objective ranking list, followed by the personal ranking list. So now we come to the mostly objective rank values, and I highlighted those I felt applied to the episode. So first we have our single episode supporting character introductions, and this is Donnie and Billy. Donnie, of course, is the scumbag who keeps harassing Paige at her job, and also is really rude to Billy, who is the mail carrier, mail deliverer of the office, basically bringing everybody their mail. That's what a mail person does. And he has really bad acne at the start of the episode and has been made fun of for it. So Paige clears up his skin and he gets to stay cute, as she says at the end of the episode. And Donnie, of course, learns his lesson by the instant karma spell, making all the women run after him and relentlessly pursue him. So at the end of the episode, we also see that he has grown as a person and learned his lesson as well. And then we have, worth 2 points, the multi-episode supporting character introduction, which is Lila, who is Paige's friend at work and is also an assistant like she is. And she appears in 2 episodes, so that makes her multi-episode supporting character, but she does have a small role to play, and she is the one that Paige helps with the car loan going through despite her bad credit. So with all those characters being introduced, that is 4 points so far. Worth 3 points, we have the successful emotional impact, and this is Piper seen at Prue's plaque when she's, saying, "How dare you leave me all alone? How could you think I could live without you?" Like, she's very emotive, and it very much comes through and causes an emotional response, and that makes it successful. So 3 points. Then we have our multi-season character developments, and this is 4 points each. 1 for Piper, who becomes a Fury, and I always love when they turn into things. So Piper becomes a Fury, and Paige learns about personal gain, and that personal gain in magic has consequences. We then have our multi-season main character growth, which is also worth another 4 points. And this is, of course, Piper's emotional closure. By letting out her rage on Prue, she is able to finally kind of come back to herself and also start to accept that Paige is her sister, is another charmed one, and that they may need her assistance at some point in the future. And then we come to our negatives. So the first negative is minus 1 point, and this, of course, is for the character regression of Piper. Of course, there's valid reasons why in this episode she does regress into self-destructive and potentially harmful to others behavior, irresponsible behavior of hunting demons and such, and that, of course, is the unexpressed rage towards Prue, altering her behaviors, which luckily at the end of the episode is resolved, but it was still there throughout the majority of the episode. So there's that. Then we have minus 2 points for our negative messaging and behavior. And this first one is theft, which of course Paige steals the Book of Shadows, despite being told that it's an important book, that it does not leave the house, that it is like their ancestral legacy. She decides she's going to throw it out the window. She's even told like the book can protect itself from evil. And so she tells it to protect itself and drops it out the window, stealing it from the household. And while technically she has some level of ownership over it being a charmed one, it is still a fact that she was told it does not leave the house, and she was not given permission to take it from the house from the co-owners of it, which is Phoebe and Piper. And so I still think it counts as theft. And then there is another minus 2 points for the workplace harassment, which Donnie commits. He does learn his lesson by the end of the episode, but it doesn't change the fact that he is harassing Paige, commenting on her being bent over, commenting on the cleavage in a section. Even when like he's at the manor, coming back to consciousness after being chased by women, he sees her better endowed chest, and he ends up getting punched for it because, you know, he's a dirtbag. As I mentioned, at the end, he does learn his lessons. Paige comments on how it's a whole new Donnie, but harassment's never a good thing. So that leaves us then with 14 points, and as the maximum score is 10, that makes this another 10 out of 10 episode. So our season 4 ranking so far, on our mostly objective ranking, we have in first place Charmed again, followed by Hell Hath No Fury. So now we come to my personal opinion of the episode. Now, I happen to really, really like the episodes where the sisters turn into various mythological creatures. They almost always end up being among my top favorites. And this one is no exception to that. I absolutely love the concept of the Furies. I like the claws that Piper gets, the talons that the others have, not so much. They're a bit bulky for my taste. But like when her fingernails grow into the talons, love that aesthetic. I love the whole clump strand hair. I like all of the torn up red outfits, even like the body lines. I think they aesthetically did a very good job on the Furies. I really enjoyed those. I like the way that they can disappear into smoke, that they use smoke as their weapon of choice. Honestly, really good job with the Furies. Love that. Obviously, at some point, they had to bring personal gain into it for Paige. And I like that it's Paige reminding us about personal gain because one thing I didn't like about the first episode was that they never seemed to not the first episode, the first season was that they constantly kept redoing and doing again and again and again the personal gain aspect until finally it stuck and they stopped doing that for a while. I like that they've now brought it in to remind us that personal gain is a thing because they have a new character that they can teach that to with Paige. And I liked how there was there was a comedic element to the personal gain in this case, and I enjoyed that. I think Paige's powers are the most convenient powers. She has fast transport with orbing. She can't control it yet, but obviously the fast travel is great. Second, of course, is the fact that, like, with Prue, she had to be able to see the object and then she would send the object through the air, but obviously, if there was something in the way, it would crash. Whereas with Paige, her power is more convenient as she can summon things. Like, she just needs to, imagine them and, call for them, and they'll come, even if they're coming through something else or from another floor or another room. And how convenient is that? Like, not to go back to our, San Francisco episode, but if she had sloth, boy would her life be easy. She could just sit there and just summon things to her. Dream come true. I find her power very convenient. In this episode alone, she called for the book, she called for a knife, she sent a lamp flying. I just think it's very convenient. Love that. Now, one thing I didn't really like is okay, so Phoebe brings Paige up to look at the book. Then she immediately leaves her alone with it, and Paige asks about the book, willing to learn. And she says, "Oh, it'll take too long to explain." And I was just sitting there when she said that and going "No, it won't." Like, all she has to say is, "Our ancestors started this book. It contains all the spells that our entire family's generations have put into it. It is sacred. It does not leave the house. It protects itself against evil. This is our legacy." Boom. It took her 2 minutes. Less than 30 seconds. But she's like, "Oh, I can't explain its importance. It's so complicated." It's like, it's not that complicated. You're lying. But obviously, in order for Paige to steal it and, go through the personal gain lesson, they can't really have it fully explained so that she understands why she can't steal it, because then she wouldn't have stolen it, and then the whole shenanigans would not have occurred. So, plot device, I know why they said it was hard, but really, it's not that hard to explain what the book is or why it's important. So I was a little bit iffy on that, but I also think that we get to know a little bit more about Piper's feelings for Prue. Like I said, it was emotionally impactful when she was fighting against Prue, her raging, her grief, her not opening up to Paige, even though in several other, in all the other seasons, she was the heart of the family. She was the one, who had that aspect to her, and now she's closed off. But then by the end of the episode, we get her character growth on the emotional side of things. Paige, of course, learns about personal gain and learns her lesson there, and has made headway into being more accepted. by Piper by the end, as she was the one who was able to help Piper. She was the one who understood what Piper was going through the most because of her lost parents, adoptive parents. And yeah, overall, I don't think that there was anything that was truly negative about the episode. I mean, the harassment bothered me, but it was supposed to. So, yeah, 10 out of 10 episode. That puts it in first place on our personal ranking. So we have Hell Hath No Fury, followed by the premiere, Charmed Again. And that brings our series ranking so far. On our mostly objective ranking to, in first place, Season 3 at 76.36%, Season 2 in second with 75%, Season 1 is currently in third with 73.18%, and Season 4 so far is starting strong with a full 20 out of 210. Meanwhile, on the personal ranking side, we had Season 3 coming in first with 76.82%, Season 1 in second with 71.50%, Season 2 not looking good at 56.82%, and then Season 4 so far also starting strong with a 19 out of 210 so far. With that, we've now rewatched and ranked Charmed Season 4, Episode 2, Hell Hath No Fury. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.